What the committee has provided for is a period of question and answers, and you do have a 3x5 card, I believe, that many of you have recorded some of your questions. Could you please pass those up at this time?
Is there someone who would like to start with a question while they're passing it up?
I think, Hermine, would you like to start?
Minister, how is your health?
Sister asked me, how is my health? And as you probably know, about 2 years ago, I was diagnosed as having prostate cancer. And I didn't want to keep it a secret. I should have kept my mouth shut. But I guess I'm a messenger. I got to tell it. So, so I mentioned it, but I mentioned it only because I went into the mountains for a month to fast and pray. And then I went to Mexico to get some second opinions. And they couldn't find anything. And come to find out that in truth, I may never have had it at all. Because in the diagnosis that came back, that I happened to see as I was shredding some bills from the hospital, there was a diagnosis of, after I had paid them, of course. As I was shredding this document, I happened to open it, and the document was diagnosing the tissues from the biopsy. And it said benign prostatic hypertrophy, which meant that the prostate was enlarged, but it was not cancerous. So I think I'm really in the best health of my young years, and I would advise and urge and plead with all of you that are in leadership. Your people and our people really, really need you. And we die entirely too young. And the only way we can serve our people as we get older and wiser is to stay alive. And the only way we can stay alive is to watch what we eat, what we drink, and have a daily routine of exercise. I must tell you that I'm a young man, and I let my body actually go. And one of my sons came one day, and I was in the bathroom, and he looked at me and said, "Dad, you're becoming a pirate." I said, "What do you mean, son?" He said, "Look at that sunken chest." And I had two other sons that were encouraging me. And then I finally got started retrieving my own body. And it's a wonderful thing to see your own body come back to you. They say when you reach a certain age, you can't grow new muscle. I don't know about that. Because I'm growing new muscle. And not only growing new muscle, but new hair. And it ain't coming in black, gray, it's coming in black. I'm telling you the truth. I'm telling you the truth. And I'm telling you again what the scripture says. Christ said he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly. And Isaiah the prophet said that a baby would die at 100. If you died at 100, you would be considered a baby. And I say to our judge, a man of this brilliance, we cannot afford to lose him. Tommy Briscoe, we cannot afford to lose Tommy. We cannot afford to lose Cirillo McSween. These are giants, but as they grow older and more experienced, they're wiser. Dr. Taylor. So it behooves you to take a little time for you. If Harold had done that, we would have our brother probably with us today. And don't say God called him home. You just got careless and went home. Or somebody sent you because you were careless. Okay, here's some questions. Is a child or their family, does a child or their family have to be a Muslim in order to attend the university? No. We look at all of our people as Muslims. The word Muslim only means one who by nature is born of the righteous. And we don't care what your denomination is, we see you as born of the righteous, and therefore you, to us, are a Muslim. And that means one who's born to submit to the will of God. And all of us are born with that a capacity to submit to God. Reading the goals of the movement stated in the newspaper was the establishment of a separate state in territorial North America. We have witnessed the large-scale starvation in Africa among our brothers and sisters who have achieved territorial liberation. How do you propose economic empowerment and liberation strategies to prevent this future desperation involving starvation and anarchy, requiring Western, European, and American intervention to the rescue? No, that's a good question. Because what this is suggesting is that those of us who achieve territorial liberation have not achieved mental, spiritual, and economic liberation. As a result, the liberation movements in Africa and the third world are pathetic because they're not truly liberated yet. Anytime you can go to Africa, brother, and find the image of the Queen on their money in a liberated country, and they have to send their test scores to England or France to be qualified, they are still under colonial domination. And anytime you see the effect of colonialism on the African mind, and then understand how the U.S. government policies affect the sincere effort of African and third world leaders for the benefit of their people, this is what produces the starvation. You don't see the hidden hand behind all of the wickedness that's going on in Africa, but that hidden hand is coming right up out of Washington, D.C., manipulating the ignorance and the greed of third world leaders and nations. I tell you, we are in for a big awakening. If Jesus said, and it's true, if you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind, and you as a citizen do not know hardly anything of what your government that you elected has sown. But the only reason you have the standard of living that you have is because people all over the world are poor, raggedy, and hungry, and your standard of living is at their expense. Do you know that when oil is the number one commodity in a country, and cocoa is the number one commodity in another country, and sugar is the number one commodity in that country, the Europeans who rule and sit on the commodities markets, they fix the price for what Ghanaians can get for their cocoa. And they don't get a decent price on the world market for what they produce, but for what America produces and Europe produces. They steal the raw materials from Africa for little or nothing, then manufacture it and then sell it back to them. Then Africa is in debt now to a Europe that raped Africa. That's why London can look so good, and Paris can look so good, and Brussels can look so good, and Germany can look so good, because you've sucked the blood of poor people and you've systematically helped to create a desert and famine. Where did the people in Somalia get the weapons from? They're mostly American-made weapons. How did they get them? Because the former ruler, Siad Barre, leaned more towards socialism. And the government of the United States did not want him in power. And the CIA worked and sponsored people in the society. And they ran Siad Barre out, but all the little factions were not strong enough to come together to form a new government. So they began warring against each other with the guns provided by Russia and America. So much so till the farmers could not plant. And hunger came. And then the greed and lust in the human condition caused men to rob food. And people starved and died. Well, what would happen if you saw that in the streets of America? That may come. So, yes, the goal of the movement is to establish a separate territory if we can't get freedom, justice, and equality within this that is called America. We have no other alternative. That's how America became America. And that's what the, what is that? When in the course of human events? The preamble to the Constitution gives us the right to separate from this if it deprives us of the essentials of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And you cannot continue to have this few of us living well and the masses of our people suffering and think that we're providing a future for black people. We got 30 to 40 million people that we have to provide a future for. We helped America build a future. Now, if America does not have us in her mind for the future, then let us know so we can say to Pharaoh like Moses said, let us go and give us a good send-off. Or include us with justice. That's right. Because we can't stay if the house will not treat us right. And just remember, we were in existence long before this. Before these people were thought. We had government, and we weren't starving and hungry. So you can make it. You can make it. It would be nice if we could make it work. But if we can't, we'll make it work for ourselves. All right, then. By the help of God. Many times in your speech you referred to Christ. How does Christ and his teaching fare in your life and your teaching? I'm a very perfect reflection of Jesus. When you're looking at me, you're looking at a reflection of the Christ you're talking about. No, I'm not putting no roses on myself. And see, you don't suffer like me. Come on, tell the story. See, the book says, if you would be my disciple, you got to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow me. You see, you're not on no cross. Every time you see me, you see them trying to nail me. What are they trying to nail me for? What have I done? I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't gamble, I don't run with women or men, I don't lie, cheat, or steal. What do they want me for? Because I teach the truth. No. And I'm in a modern Rome like Jesus was in ancient Rome. And as that Rome didn't dig that Jesus, this Rome don't seem to like this little one either. I'm proud to say I'm a follower of Christ.
Come on, tell me.
And that's why I catch hell. And anybody who truly follows Christ is not going to be the friend of the world. That's how I talk. See, a lot of people preach Jesus. He's a convenient commodity for good business. But to follow Jesus, nah, that's the thing.
That's the thing. Follow. Come on, teacher.
To live a Christ-like life in the midst of all of this evil. I thank you for the question. And if you listen to what I teach and go run it through the Bible and lay it over the Gospels and lay it over the teachings of the apostles of Christ,
All right.
you find I'm right there, jam up 1,000%. And it goes right back to the other question about separation. See, Christ didn't teach integration. Did you know that? He said, be ye separate. He didn't want his followers mixing up with the wicked. He did not. No, sir. Cannot have fellowship with devils. Isn't that what he said? Oh, well, that's your book. Go read it. Now, if you're going to be righteous, what do you look like hanging out with the wicked? Well, he wasn't hanging out. Jesus was teaching. I don't hang out with the wicked. I teach. I'm right there. Are women being taught aspirations of strength and achievement as well as the males to succeed in corporate America and hold their own in any chosen field as well as men? Yes, ma'am. Women can do just about anything that a man can do. And in Islam, I heard the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said he wanted to see the sisters fly planes. He wanted to see them navigate ships. He wanted to see them as ambassadors. He wanted to see them in every field of human endeavor except fields that degrade them. I just don't like to see women modeling filth. Do you? I don't like to see a woman who's beautiful strip down
All right.
and come out and show us her wares. I don't mind her modeling something beautiful and righteous. But don't be a salesman for filth. We'll curtail that activity with women. Men too. You a singer? Sing. We don't want to see your bosom. We want to hear your voice. Sing. What's wrong with that? We don't want our women degraded. We're sick of this filth. And one day when we get strong enough, we'll stop it. We'll walk right into the performance and stop it. Because if my daughter is there, my wife is there, decent people are there, why should we have to pay to have people baptize us in filth and indecency? We don't want our women involved in that. And we don't want you involved in that. And out of self-respect, you shouldn't want to be looked at as a piece of meat. Should you? No. Make a man respect you. When he see you, let him see brain. You understand? Let him meet mind, not what rhymes. He said, this is the Nation of Islam, but a new Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan. How is the Nation of Islam new? Well, you know, every time you look on the television, they say new and improved tide. You never ask them, how is the tide new? How How is the Colgate new? You know what I mean? How's the Cadillac you driving this year new? You understand? They shaped it a little different. They did a little things to it. Well, the Nation of Islam, under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, was nearly completely destroyed. When it changed direction, those of us who loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we could not abide by the slander of a man that cleaned us up and made us what we were. Some of us went back into the world, some of us went back to nothing. And you know that what the Muslims had in this city, hardly anybody had ever built anything like that. But all of that was gone. The beautiful newspaper plant that we had, with a multi-million-dollar press, sold to South Africa. Our lamb packing plant, gone. The tens of thousands of acres of farmland that we had, gone. The Constellation plane that we had, the jets that we had, gone. Supermarkets, bakeries, interstate trucking system, gone. Schools, 42 of them, closed. So we're starting again. That's why we call it new. It's really the same nation, same teaching. But those that are with me, these young men, they never met the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, never knew Malcolm. They never knew the old nation. They are new to this teaching. So that's why we say new, and I hope it's improved. I gratefully accept your offer to help and look forward to your counsel. Dr. Cox, thank you. I love you. Be right with you. How can we help you come out of prison? You did tonight. Just by being here, you helped me get out of jail. You see, many of you know Brother Farrakhan. And if you've been anywhere close to me, you know that you have never heard me say a hateful word against Jewish people. Here's my children, my son's not here tonight, but they grew up in my house. I would not allow my children to use the word spick or wop or kike, referring to any ethnic or racial group. You couldn't use that around me because I grew up going to white schools where they called me nigger in the class, sunshine, all kind of names, burrhead. That's right. So when I learned who I was, then no name anybody could call me could upset me. But at that time, it hurt. And I reared my children different. So I'm saying that to say that, you know, there are those who fear the loss of control over black people's minds. And what truth represents is what Jesus said, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. And there are people who don't want you free, so they'll fight anybody that will tell you some truth. That's independent of their control. And so because Farrakhan is not going to bow and scratch where he doesn't itch, then they don't like the brother. So the propaganda is heavy. And you know, our chief of staff, we have contacted the leaders of the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith to sit down and talk with them. This has been our position since 1985, to sit down and discuss our differences. And ever since we said we would sit down, they rejected us in 85. They rejected us in 86. Ted Koppel wanted me to come on television and argue with some Jewish leader on TV. I said, no, sir. I said, that's not good for black-Jewish relations. TV, you know, you got to show off for the TV. And I know you can't get me on TV and make no fool out of me. I'm saying this with humility. I know too much about your history. But that's not what it's all about. It's not all about you attacking me and me attacking you. It's about sitting down in a quiet place, ironing out our differences, and then coming before the television and say, we found a solution to the problem. That's the way you use television. These foolish kind of TV shows that we see all the time, they aid and help nothing. They solve no problems. And so I refuse to be a part of that. But your presence tonight, and hopefully, the more relationship that we have, the more I come out and speak and meet people, and people get to know me and know us better, they'll know that I'm not what people think I am. I had 2 rabbis at my table, and I invited the rabbis, this is the truth, to come to the opening and dedication of Mosque Mariam. And they refused. They said, no, we can't come. It would send an improper signal. Okay. We had another meeting, and one rabbi asked me, if I could arrange for you to come before the board of rabbis, would you come? I said, if you can arrange it tomorrow, I will come. And the other rabbi said, if I asked and invited you to speak at the synagogue, would you come? I said, tonight, if you could arrange it. And because I was so anxious, they never arranged it. So, you know, I'm very serious about what I'm saying, you know. Some of our Jewish friends say that, Farrakhan, until you apologize, we won't sit down and talk. I said, well, we'll never sit down and talk. Because if I don't think I have anything to apologize for, I'm not going to apologize. See, but some of them want to manipulate and make you bend and bow. You don't have that kind of power with me. You don't have no power with me to make me bow now. That just is not going to happen, not in this lifetime. Or the next one either. That's why I'm so glad I'm a free black man, supported by black people. I ain't got to beg nobody for nothing. So I can talk like a man. I like that. And I want every black man to be free like that. What do you think that we can do for these brothers who attend good schools but have lost their identity? Well, the Jewish people may send their children to the public school, but when they leave that public school, they have a shula, someplace for them to go and learn about their culture so that they don't lose their identity. If we've got to go in a public school and they're not going to teach us the knowledge of ourselves, then we should open our churches. That after school, the children will come to the church for history classes where they learn something good about themselves. This is a way to bring the youth back to the church. Get them into the knowledge of self, and I promise you that when you teach black children the great history of black people, you will see a change in their walk, a change in their talk, a change in their step, because they know they are from something, going somewhere with direction. Thank you. 3 more questions, that's it. I'm fine. How should the black community respond to the president of the county board's decree to double the number of abortions at Cook County Hospital? Well, you know, I know that many of the women in the audience are pro-life and many are pro-choice. I'm both. I'm pro-life and I'm pro-choice. Now that may sound political. But I am pro-choice in that you choose who you're going to sleep with. So you don't regret having life from that one that you slept with. But I am not for any woman or man having the luxury of pleasure without responsibility, and to kill the fruit of your womb, not understanding that what you're producing is the answer to your own prayers and the prayers of your grandmother and your great-grandmother. You do not know what you're carrying. There was a young girl, she was 15 years old. She came up pregnant. Her father came to me. He was upset because he had taught his daughter all of these moral principles and whatnot, and she violated. He was out of his mind. I said, brother, embrace your daughter and embrace what is in her womb. Some say, well, she's only 15. You must, have an abortion. I said, she laid down. She got to learn the responsibility of her actions. Now, have the child. They had the child. The child is more than a genius. The grandfather was walking with the little girl. She was 2.5, going toward 3, and she was reading signs. And he was wondering, child, the girl can read. The girl is a genius. You don't know what your womb holds. That's why I was telling you earlier, you're too precious. And that's why you shouldn't lay down with just anybody. I'm just telling you straight up. Don't let biological need, force you to do things that you regret. No. Now, what about the rapist? I couldn't allow the child of a rapist to come in. What about a father taking off his daughter? No. Well, that's abortion. It's justified. You know, when a woman has to be forced to yield herself to one of criminal intent, you know, the sperm is generated by what's in the mind of the owner of that sperm. We don't know enough about human nature to really understand why we're producing all this criminal stuff. That's the product of the parents and the society. You don't even realize that by killing the fruit of your womb, now I don't want nobody going off on no guilt trip now. Whatever you've done in the past, believe me, God will forgive you for that. So let's forget that now, okay? Don't get in no guilt trip, because that's not what I'm about. If you've had an abortion, you get the feeling, oh, you talking about me. No, 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 no. Because in my days of ignorance, we had one too. So I'm putting myself right out there with you. So I'm not trying to throw down on nobody or make anybody feel bad. But when you know better, you should do better. You understand? Yes. I just will close with that point on your mind. My mother did not want me. May God bless her. What a wonderful woman. But I was a child of a bad circumstance. And she was trying to run from the circumstance. And the only way she could run from the circumstance is kill what was in the womb. And in those days, they didn't have a Cook County hospital where you had the president of the county board saying double the number of abortions. They used hangers in those days and all kinds of crazy stuff. And my mother tried to abort me 3 times. And it didn't happen. And she finally decided, let it be. But the effect of her thinking is on me. You see, when you think to kill, you produce after your thoughts. You don't think it's killing because it's in a doctor's office and it's all right by law. But there's some things that the law says is all right that God's law says is not. And that's why the supreme law has to always be taught by spiritual people. You are producing killers because you yourself are a silent killer. Because the circumstance isn't right. No, I got to get my education on it. I can't, this thing from, I got to, oh no, I'm killing this thing. Now, you produce a child. He's robbing a store. He got a ski mask on. Somebody pulled the mask off. They seen him. I got to kill him. Now, circumstances, I got to get rid of all evidence. Boom, 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 boom. And you sit back in judgment. You're going to be on the jury, sentencing that one to death. But who will sentence you? You produced it. You're a silent killer. In sanctified, purified Cook County abortion clinics. I don't know what we can do against that, but educate the people and let the people choose what kind of life you want to live. That's all I can do is teach. And if I've said anything, and our sisters in here tonight pregnant and afraid, go on and have your baby. You'll be surprised what God is going to bless you with. And when my mother was on her deathbed, the Sunday before she died, I was on my way to the mosque, and I went into her room, and she called me to her bed, and she cradled her stomach, and she said, "Son, I thank God for what He allowed my womb to produce." And she said she prayed that God would forgive her for even trying to kill such precious child. She knows he's precious now, but when he's interfering with her plans, it ain't precious at all, because you don't value what's in that womb. That's a sacred house, more sacred than any church, synagogue, or mosque. Your womb is a sacred place where you and God operate to produce what you see walking the street. And only you, mother again with God, can change the reality of what you see on those streets. That's your product. Those hard teenagers that are killers now. They're filling the jails, as brother said in introducing me. But they're yours because they had no real parenting. Society told you, take them off the breast. Give them Similac. Give them Infamil. But there is no Similac or no Infamil that can assimilate or equate itself with what comes from God's nursing station. You are so powerful, women. You just don't know who you are. The power of your mind energizes your milk. You didn't know that. If you are terrified, it creates a chemical reaction that your baby will suck from your breast. But if you're a God-fearing, righteous woman with high principle, you will instill that right in your baby through the milk to take the child away from a mother and that breast and give it some cold, impersonal bottle. You're making the child cold. But when that child can nurse from your breast and put the hand on your breast and feel the warmth of its mother, it is bonding to flesh, to blood, not plastic. And so when it grows, it's bonded to street, to television, to a material thing that has no life in it. And that's why your children can take life so easily. Two young men on the north side running down a 50-year-old woman trying to jog, trying to rob her and then just stab her. I mean, what is in your heart? What is in your mind that allows you to do things like that? Just walk up to somebody and jack them up and take their car and kill them. They didn't do anything. We breeded killers. Because since Roe versus Webb, you've had pro-choice. And you chose to kill life. And you've produced a nation of little killers. And that's why your children are just killing their parents and doing all kinds of acts that children never did before because the law permitted it. One last question. God bless us to understand better and do better. If we as teachers could teach our people the science of fasting and how fasting will get you the discipline to discipline your body and all your drives, where you can turn away from sex, turn away from the finest woman and say, no, that's not right. Turn away from that most handsome man. Baby, that's not here. You want to learn how to fast? You take that fast and go about your business, brother. What are your feelings? This is the last question. What are your feelings on the portrayal of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad by Spike Lee in his latest movie, Malcolm X? That's the last one. I'll just say this. I enjoyed the movie. I saw the movie, and there were a lot of negatives in the movie that if I only looked at the small picture, meaning that portrayal of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, it was negative. It was negative. But when I look at the bigger picture, the movie is a plus. The motive behind the movie, I'd like to deal with at another time. The money behind the movie, I'd like to deal with at another time. The plot behind the movie, I'd like to deal with at another time. And the failure of all of it to accomplish the results, I'd like to deal with it at another time. They intended something terrible to happen behind that. I'll just drop this on you and you think about it. They've never made a feature-length movie on no black scientist, scholar, historian, or contributor to advancement of our people till the movie Malcolm X. Right now in Hollywood, that brother that constantly goes around playing Frederick Douglass, call his name? William Marshall. William Marshall. William Marshall, with a gorgeous voice and magnificent presence. We were together in Jamaica in 1974, and he had the script of a man named Christophe, who was with Dessalines and Toussaint Louverture in the great battle where they conquered the forces of Napoleon. And he tried to get every Hollywood studio, producer, people to back the production of that movie. They would not produce a movie that would glorify a black man who defeated the greatest army in the world, the army of Napoleon. They wouldn't do it. They never showed a movie on Marcus Garvey. And they never think to make a movie on W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T, George Washington Carver. None of those who made a contribution. Why Malcolm? Why at this time and why Malcolm? They had a reason. You went to see a movie, but did you pick up on the reason? Did you understand the motive? Because it's not what people do, it's why they do what they do that you got to dig under to understand so you don't get manipulated in the process. It's all about winning minds and directing minds toward an objective. And they failed. No weapon formed against the righteous will prosper. But on our Savior's Day, which God willing on February the 21st, will be at the UIC Pavilion. Last year and the year before, we were blessed to be with Dr. Johnny Coleman at Christ Universal Temple, and we had to turn several thousand persons away. And so this year we tried to get the Chicago Stadium, but they wouldn't allow us to use it. It's unfortunate. But we should have talked to our alderman. Exactly. Well, that won't happen again, Alderman, Judge. But, you know, all over the country, there are places where they just don't want Farrakhan to speak. And it's true. Well, we won't get into that now, but that's what I'm talking about, that prison situation, you know. But we are at the UIC Pavilion, and the subject matter deals with the experts. The experts have all spoken. And now, on that day, I would really like to give to the public the Nation of Islam's perspective. And the reason I think it's necessary is because, you know, we are charged with murder, not from a court of law, but from a movie that wants to make our people the judge, the jury, and the executioner. The evil intentions that were behind the movie and behind all the propaganda that followed the movie to kill not only the nation, but to kill Malcolm again. This is some serious stuff that went on, and I hope it didn't go above your head, but if it did, it didn't get too far above ours, and we'd like to share with you what we saw. That's why I didn't really want to get into that tonight. But at the UIC, I would like to present to the world the Nation of Islam's perspective. And after you hear our perspective, which is a valid perspective, because you can't make a judgment just going to a movie by Spike Lee, who never really walked with Malcolm. He didn't know Malcolm. He didn't know Malcolm. But we knew him. I personally was taught by Malcolm. I worked with Malcolm for 10 years. I'm not saying I'm no expert on Malcolm, but I do know the brother a lot better than most. And I know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a lot better than most, and was a member of the nation at the time of Malcolm. So we have a point of view that I think should be heard. If you're going to make a judgment, give us a chance to have a fair hearing in that court. And then you determine for yourself whether we are guilty or innocent. But that movie was designed not for the dead, but it was designed to destroy something coming up among the living. And the wise among you know it. And even those who were not sophisticated, they sat in the movie. Something not right here. Even to show Malcolm's going toward Orthodox Islam, they didn't give Orthodox Islam a decent hearing, nor did they give the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad a decent hearing. They spent more time on Malcolm's pre-life. So you gotta look at this thing. But overall, great movie. I mean, I would rate it great, and I thank God for Spike. I wrote Spike a letter, I never sent it, but I'm gonna send it. Spike was born to do this thing. Spike is a very unique human being, gifted. And I'll tell you, I believe that when the history of Islam is written in America, the point where there was a turning point in the upswing of people coming to Islam, they will have to go back to Spike Lee and that movie. So I don't care how negative the intention is, God's hand is on us all, and believe me, good will come out of everything. Even if there is evil behind it, God will turn it into something good for his people. I want to thank tonight and recognize Mr. and Mrs. Alauddin Shabazz. Are they still here?
Yeah, Dr.
Dr. Constance Shabazz and her husband. How are you, my brother? It's good to see you both. Wa alaikum salam. Dr. Neva Lubin. Where's Dr. Lubin?
Here.
In the back? Oh, she's by the light. That's right. You're in the light, sister. It's good to see you. Thank you for coming. Dr. Javed Orgain. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Javed. Thank you. It's an honor to see you again. Dr. Alvenia Fulton. This is the ageless wonder of our community. I mean, she just don't age. Y'all want to know how to stay here long, please go see Dr. Fulton. Brother Tommy Brewer.
Yeah.
Where's Tommy? He left? Where's Nikki Zala? She just left? I didn't get a chance to shake her hand. Ted Kimbrough is here.
Yes.
Mr. Frank Bacon. Dr. Gloria Jackson Bacon, I know they left. They're here?
They're here. Frank is sick too. Frank is sick.
Brother, good to see you. And pray for a speedy, complete recovery, man. It's great. And Dr. Jackson Bacon, did you hear her sing? Well, you missed a concert if you weren't there. I hope you're still doing it. I hope to join you soon. March 20th, where? Thank you. I'll get my tickets. Representative Monique Davis. There she is. Thank you, Monique. It's a pleasure to see you. Blanton Kennedy, the great one. How are you, my brother? Darrell Grisham.
Yeah, the giant.
The giant. How are you, sir? Cirillo McSween. That's him, brother. Let's say it for him. Robert Dale.
Where is it?
Pleased to see you, brother. Thank you. The Reverend Maxine Walker. And my dear friend, the Reverend Mitty Collier. Well, and Senator Don Trotter. Senator? Had to leave. Well, it's been a long evening. I guess we're long past the time. Where's Attorney Lou Myers?
All of them do panelists.
Lou? In the light. Good to see you, brother. Judge Ellis Reed? Judge? Where's the judge?
He just, he was Used to work for them.
Brother Keith Hobbs. Ernie Jenkins. All right. Judge R. Eugene Pincham and Commissioner Michael Scott.
Yeah, he was here.
Alderman Dorothy Tillman. Roderick, that's your daughter? How are you, sweetheart? Well, if you're like your mother, sweetheart, we got a warrior in you. Take very good care of her.
That's my baby.
Yeah. Where's Roderick Sawyer, son of our Mayor Eugene Sawyer? Pleasure, brother. Give your father our love and the one and only Ty Wansley. The great and wonderful, a man for all seasons, who really is concerned about our people, the Reverend Dr. Heisel Taylor. And Dr. Wayne Watson of the City Colleges. Doctor, thank you. Okay. So I thank you. And
Minister, you had Alderman Buchanan from the 10th Ward here earlier. He's gone. He was sitting there.
I wanted to,
Alderman Buchanan, he's one of our Caucasian aldermen. He's here from the 10th
Thank you.
Ward. He left with the crop.
and we met former City Councilman Ed Badoliak on the way out.
Yeah, we met on the way in here.
Yeah. I hope that's not what sent him out. But may God bless you all, and thank you so much for this evening. Assalamu alaikum.
There will be a receiving line, but if you hold your places. But first of all, I'd like to recognize a contribution to my